What's up, Digidestins? This is Kyle D, better known as RideMyAvatar, and today we're going to be talking about decks that will be seeing play in Bt-14. There are possibilities of banlist hits and it will change up things, but I went over decks that basically, even if you restrict certain cards to one, the deck doesn't change much in it unless they completely remove the cards in general. So that's the only way I can see it, but without further ado, let's dive into the video and talk about it. So first deck we're going to talk about is none other than Greymon. So Greymon X Antibody, you know the drill here. We can only have one of this because of the restrictions, but Greymon got a couple new cards actually in the form of a secret and a super rare in the slot that you kind of just want to start teching in. So we have Wagreymon. While you have a tamer with Tai Kami in its name and your opponent has a Digimon with 1000 DP or more, your Agumon may Digivolve into this card from your hand for Digievolution cost 4, ignoring Digievolution requirements. So it's your Warp Shinkai. So you're going to be able to Warp, Digivolve into from any of your Agumons up, as long as you have a Tai on board. Very easy condition to be met. I rarely never see a Greymon deck without their Tai. So this is just very useful. And then it has when Digivolving, this Digimon gains raid for the turn, and then this Digimon may attack. It doesn't get around Summoning Sickness, but it will allow you to attack and it's a pseudo blitz. And then when attacking, if you have a tamer, the Digimon gains security +1 and piercing. So it can clear out some much needed threats. You can combo it in with an X Antibody, go into X Antibody Wagreymon, because when attacking, if you have this Digimon gains security +1 and piercing, so it's a innate inheritable. So you can, when attacking, gain those effects, and that will apply to your X Antibody, which could lead into clearing out all security, and then, Omnimon for game. So that's just kind of how it goes. With the new Agumon here, start a main phase. If you have a tamer with Tai Kami in its name, this Digimon may Digivolve into a Greymon from your hand without paying its cost, and then it gives plus 2000 DP for Omni and for Greymons. So what does that mean, really? We're going to use like security checker, but I think also having this Greymon here is really good, because early games sometimes you need to just be able to swing in, get the tie down, get a couple tie downs. That's not bad. You just keep building stacks, making powerhouse restanders and all that good stuff here. So has a lot of potential. You have Metal Greymon Ace for a possibility of removal, but I think you could play any of the two other ties in this slot, but I think Yuya, even though it doesn't help facilitate the full on power of this deck, I think Yuya still has its place, especially if your meta starts playing more and more option based, which is a high possibility, because if people are on, BL Star or Bella Star, that is going to dictate, because that starter deck, you can almost build the deck, you just need certain pieces. Depending on what happens, you can easily put Tai in. There's no issues of holding on to Yuya here. But, offensive trainings just to set up is not bad. Now, let's get into blues. The only questionable part is if this card gets hit, you just change up a little bit. But I think being able to, in the Mirage build, is what makes it a little crazy here. Gomamon being able to replay itself if this stack was deleted, but most likely it won't, because you have the jamming. But start a main phase, choose one Digievolution card or one of your opponent's Digimon, trash it. This Digimon cannot be blocked for the turn, so making preventable swings go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then your opponent is just dead. So you know how this combo works by now. The deck is just a restanding deck. OTK, burst mode, instantly keep interacting with your opponent's hand, forcing them to draw. Then you remove cards to restand and keep doing this wombo combo until your opponent is dead. Zudomon Ace is in here just to be that burst Digievolution, to be able to trash 2 cards from under one of your opponent's Digimon, and then be able to return a threat if they have no Digievolutions. So, very linear deck. We kind of know what OTKs do at this point. Mirage is just Mirage. Then we do have a blue hybrid that popped up once or twice in the JP meta, kind of using the Boko Gomas, Ikakus, and then use like Lanamon for adding jamming, Kumamon being able to strip a source, Korikaku to hopefully stun something, Beowulfmon or Biowulfmon. So being able to bounce something, you know, all the good stuff. I think massively you want Soul Ride, especially if Shine doesn't get hit. You want to be able to make sure this shows up in security. What's very interesting is the Joe Keto in the list I saw. So on play, trash one Digievolution card from under one of your opponent's Digimon. And then your turn, when a card is trashed from under one of your opponent's Digimon, by suspending this tamer, gain one memory. So easily self-fuels everything. You know, it's kind of funny you can use Tommy, especially there's no way it's cycling it back, but that one Tommy can just really ruin days with Joe combos and stuff like that. Could easily make, depending on how many Joes when the Tommy comes out, you could easily just make your opponent's day miserable, and you basically make this free and then just climb from there. You know, Death X is staple. Azulamon, just basically because you're going to be stunning the board. As long as they don't have X antibody, you're pretty solid there. You're just going to stun the board, make your opponent have a bad day. So, Blue Hybrid could definitely come back depending on what they hit and what they do. So, not a bad thing. You know, Davis, Sora, Joes, you know, Tommy. It's just a basic list of hybrid. It's a fun deck that you will see time to time. Then we do have ImperialDramon. Depending on what happens with the product, if they announce it's legal, you can definitely play the new Vmon here. So your turn, when this card would Digivolve into a Digimon card with free traits, you may, if you have a tamer, reduce the Digievolution cost by 1. So this kind of just bridges the gap a little bit easier. You know, they also, the new Davis is in that trial deck. If you buy a box during pre-release, it's not bad. You know, you get 4 of these, you're pretty set in stone. So our main things, if you have a Digimon with free in its traits, gain a memory. On play, activate one of the following. If you have a Vmon, play a Vmon from your hand without paying its cost, or one of your Digimon can Digivolve into X Vmon in your hand without paying its cost. So basically, you can just get a free Digievolution. Well, it still costs 3. It's a little pricey, to be honest with you, but it's on play, and you know, it's not terrible. So, I mean, you got to use the Mem boost for this deck because you are 2 colors, so you will miss some of the times with it. So, and then ImperialDramon, Dragon Mode Ace. I think it's just a spicy one-of. You don't want to overcommit to this card, but so it is on play when Digivolve, suspend 1 Digimon, then unsuspend 1 Digimon. Then all turns, once per turn, when this Digimon becomes suspended, you may play 1 Tamer card or Digimon card with 4,000 DP or less from your hand without paying its cost. So this could easily fuel this Davis and setup, but you know, it's just all good stuff here. You know, you have Heaven's Judgment. As long as you have a green Digimon or Tamer in play, you use this card without meeting color requirements. Since we do have plenty of green multicolor shenanigans, Heaven's Judgment can be really annoying. So, but all in all, deck's going to do what it wants to do, spit out bodies, Jogress, go right in. So that's all it's really going to do. Then we do have Shinegreymon. We talked about this before, but yellow base will have access to the new Patamon. So start a main phase, look at the top security stack. This Digimon digivolves into a yellow card with vaccine in traits among them without paying its cost. Then shuffle your security deck. If you digivolve with this effect, place 1 yellow card with vaccine in your traits at the hand at the bottom of the security stack. And then when a card is added to your security deck, gain 1 memory. So basically, this deck could see a hit. Marcus going down to 1. This deck could fall apart pretty quickly. So definitely for now, this is just to give you a synopsis of what to expect. If they don't hit Marcus, Marcus doesn't go anywhere. This deck still becomes a tyrant. So we'll have to see what happens. But this is just basically what they're going to do, and we'll have to see what goes on for it. Next, we do have the Patamon Seraphimon deck. So it's vaccine. So Seraphe, just when Digivolving, recovery 1. All turns, when a card is added to your security stack, one of Digimon gets minus 7,000 DP. This Digimon gains security plus 1. So the minusing DP for all turns is kind of just a little nasty. You can interact and make your opponent have a bad day. Then you have like Shadow Seraphe, just so that you can Digivolve up on top of this, just to have a option of being able to control if they do a lot of crazy shenanigans to your security, you can Digivolve. Then on deletion, recovery 1. And then one of your opponent's Digimon gets 4,000 DP for each card in your security stack. You can easily remove a threat off the board. You know, Venusmon's in here just to be a nuisance and slow down. The deck is a consistent deck, but competitively, it's just not as fast as the others. You know, Rapidmon to help control wide boards. You know, Angemon being able to deal with, you know, threats of the virus types, but you know, you're losing yours to kind of do this shenanigans setup, and it's not always going to be beneficial. Then Magnemon Ace, the recovery, and then one of your opponent's Digimon gets 1000 DP for each of your security stack if you're at 5 or less. You know, this is all what's going to do. With the new TK, you get to add a card to the top of your security stack to your hand. You may play one yellow card with vaccine in its traits from your hand at the bottom of the security stack. Your turn, when a card is added to your security stack by suspending this tamer, gain a memory. So, just plain and simple. And then Messenger of Hope. You can play this at more or not, depending on what you want to do, but just Messenger of Hope. You know, look at your security stack. One of your Digimon may Digivolve into a level 6 or lower Digimon with a vaccine trait among them without paying its cost. Then shuffle your security stack. If your Digimon Digivolve with this effect, you have a tamer with TK in its name, recovery 1. And then basically security play a Pata from hand or trash. I don't think it's terrible. We got a lot of options here. You have Cutemon, Pillowmon, and then Kodemon to help search your vaccines. The whole deck is vaccine type minus the Shadow Seraphe, Death X, and I think, nope, Ruin Modus. So you basically have all targets available for you. So unless you have any other objections, I think this is pretty solid base to start out with. Then we have Maste. Maste definitely taking on the Tokomons. So when a card is added to your security stack, draw a card. I think just having Cutemon in the format definitely helps against the trainings. And if that's really depends on how many trainings we're allowed to have. If we're at a full play set, you're going to want Cutemons and stuff like that. But all in all, the deck got some power-ups with the Pata. Main focus is get Pata on your raising and then promote up because you have a lot of vaccines. There's very little time you probably won't hit this. But set up Gatos, even just getting Geograde to play the Mirai to go and set up and Digivolve and do all the fun shenanigans can lead to being crazy. You know, Messenger of Hope, being able to Digivolve any of your vaccines up. You know, Mastimon is going to do Mastimon things. It's a top-end Jogress that you want to Jogress. And then Mastimon kind of controls the board with your trash and everything like that. Get your security up. You know, Lucamon Chaos Mode comes out, removes a threat or tamer. You know, there's plenty of things you can do with this deck. You have Chaos Degradation, Flame Health Sives. You know, it's a mid-range deck that just likes to play mid-range. So it has potential, and we'll have to see if it holds up in the meta. Then we do have Yellow Hybrid. If you guys haven't heard of Yellow Hybrid before, this deck used to dominate with Blue Hybrid. They both kind of got some new wave of interactions. You know, a new Koromon for when a card is removed from your opponent's security stack, draw a card. It's once per turn, but that's not bad. You have the Guillemon line. A special Gallantmon Warp if you go with this Guillemon here. You know, GG and Guillemon are both basically a draw 2 together when they swing. So it's not terrible here. You know, Magna Angemon Ace will just recover. It's kind of comboed with Jet Sylphie, but you use RideMyAvatar to play your tamers. Get your tamers wide enough, then you just hybrid for game shenanigans. Your opponent really just is put on a clock the more and more tamers. If they don't have tamer removal, which most decks don't, you're very little of them. So this is just something to take a look at and understand. Then we do have RustTyrannomon. RustTyrannomon Ace is when Digivolving, spend all your opponent's Digimon with DP less than or equal to this Digimon, and then all turns when an opponent's Digimon is deleted in battle, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. So Rusty Boy is back and just doing crazy shenanigans. You know, you have, while you have a tamer in play for this Tyranno, plus 2000 DP, Tyrannomon, if this Digimon has Tyrannomon in its name, it may attack, you know, at the end of your turn, gets you an extra swing in. If you just Digivolve, it's kind of like a pseudo blitz, but it's not the same. So, and then, you know, this is reduced Digievolution cost. It has a lot of potential. The deck does want to do what the deck wants to do, using Taigas just for that piercing and reduce Digievolution costs and power boost so that, you know, your Rusty Boys can just do what they got to do. I think it has a lot of potential. Extra security pushing is just what it wants to do. Then we do have Bloom Hydra Quartz. You know, this deck just got some boost in the form of new Mimi. So reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Play 1 Digimon with plant vegetation. Add 1 Digimon card with plant vegetation in one of its traits among them to your hand. Place the rest at the bottom of the deck. And then when a Digimon becomes suspended by an effect, by suspending this tamer, gain a memory. So it just combos off more and more. You know, use the agility trainings. BloomLord is just going to OTK. You know, spit out a board. Suspend all your effects, set yourself up, You know, go into BloomLord restand, piercing, multi-checking at big numbers that your opponent has to. Using like Lilymon Ace just to be just an annoying card because on play, when Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, then return one of your opponent's Digimon suspended Digimon with 5,000 DP or less to the bottom of its owner's deck. Really nasty. You have Togemon, basically when you would play a green tamer from hand by spending one of your green Digimon, reduce the cost by 3, basically making Mimi free. Here, this Mimi free, and then 1 cost, big Mimi. So once return when this Digimon would Digivolve, if you have a green tamer, reduce the cost by 1. I think the deck is going to do what the deck is going to always do, just being an annoying threat. Then we do have, if this loads, is none other than Rosemon Burst Mode. It's a Rosemon Burst Mode basically is a mini version of Quartzmon. So being able to, when Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon and one of their tamers until the end opponent's turn. All of their Digimon and tamers don't unsuspend. When attacking, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack for every 2 of your opponent's suspended Digimon or tamers. So basically, lethal for funds. Then you have Palmon here, the new one. Start a main phase. One of your opponent's Digimon gains all turns when this Digimon becomes suspended. Lose 2 memory until the end opponent's turn. Really annoying, especially comboed with Lilithmon Ace or when they're going to attack. Then once per turn, when this Digimon would Digivolve, if you have a green tamer, reduce the cost by 1, as it's inheritable. The deck's going to do what the deck wants to do. And then we do have D-brigade. D-brigade got a lot of new stuff here. It has this tamer here that basically says if your opponent has a Digimon, gain a memory. Mind Link, basically for any Digipolice, so that is your Commandramon here. Numemon, High Commandramon, Cargomon, and Wagreymon. You know, the deck still plays the same way. It's a Rookie Rush style of play. Spit out bodies, swing in, swing in, swing in. Then you have ways of climbing up and going in for lethal and stuff like that. You know, you have her for the Mind Link for jamming and reboot, and then basically she spits herself out. The deck is pretty much the same deck. You have your Numemon that'll basically help get her out early and just set up really nastively, you know. Then you have like High Commandramon, which counts himself as Commandramon, and then basically when attacking, he kind of just feels the board. And then when this card would leave the battle area other than by effect, by deleting one of your other Digimon with D-brigade in traits, prevent it leaving play. You know, Cargomon, you know, on play, when Digivolving, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. You may play 1 card with D-brigade or D-police traits with a play cost 4 or less among them without paying its cost. Trash the rest. When one of your other Digimon is deleted, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. You may play 1 Commandramon from among them without paying its cost, or trash the rest. So, and then you have Wagreymon. Choose any number of opponent's Digimon with a play cost total up to 7 and delete them. Then on opponent's turn, all your Digimon with D-brigade gain blocker. So basically, wide board with blocker. End of your turn, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. You may play any number of cards with D-brigade or D-police traits to total up to 7 among them without paying its cost. So it goes wide, builds up a blocker board. Your opponent has to answer it. If there's no Death X in their hand, you're kind of golden. You have a wide board that your opponent is just not going to want to deal with. Then you have Commandramon, same protection as High Commandramon, but on play, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. Add 1 card with D-brigade or D-police traits among them to your hand. Place the rest of the bottom of the deck in any order. I think the deck's solid. The deck's going to do what the deck wants to do. Then we have Diaboromon. Diaboromon Ace is the new card in this deck. So when Digivolving, when attacking, play 1 Diaboromon token without paying its cost. All turns, when another Digimon is played by an effect, by deleting delete one of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost 3 or less. For each Diaboromon in play, increase the maximum by 2. So Diaboromon's just going to do what it wants. It's going to spill out wide and just go look at your opponent and go like, answer me, answer me, answer me. So one thing you can do and play, I forgot I needed them. Quartzmon is a big boy here. So because you go wide enough with these token generations, your opponent just doesn't have enough to answer it. Especially on your turn, when you Digivolve into a Diaboromon, you produce with Errata. So there can be a lot of ways of getting a bunch of tokens, and then Quartzmon goes in for game and just deals, your opponent just looks at you sad. You know, possibility of Filth deck. Here, it got a new card in Chumon. Basically, the deck's constantly just trying to turn your opponent Digimon into a Sukamon with 3000 DP and basically just make him have a bad day. So this card is searchable with the new curse, and you know, King Sukamon is basically, you can delete keeping your stuff protected because you can delete any Sukamon on board. So if your opponent has a Digimon, you can delete it for your protection skills. Not bad. It's a very solid way of dealing with your opponent. Your opponent doesn't like it because they turn to 3,000 white Digimon, so they don't keep the colors. So if they have to Digivolve up, they're in a bad day. So definitely the deck has a lot of potential, and it's a really annoying deck to deal with. So just keep this in mind. There's a lot of annoyance with it. And then we have MirageGaogamon. So the main idea and concept of this deck is when Digivolving, getting into this card. So you may play one level 4 or lower card with Dark Animal or SOC trait from your trash without paying its cost. If your LGA, your purple tamer that mind links is in this DG Evolution card, add 2 to the number of Digimon you can play with this effect, which is basically you're going to spit out 2 Black Gatos for lethal, Jogress them if they both survive, and go into Chimeramon and just go for game that way. So when attacking once per turn, by deleting one of your opponent's level 3 or lower, unsuspend this Digimon. For each of your Digimon, add 1 to the maximum level of this Digimon can choose with this effect, and then your turn, this condition to end your turn becomes your opponent's having 3 or more memory. So basically giving them mem setter, but that's just how that goes. I think this is pretty solid. The deck is going to do what the deck wants to. You know, this card just gives a good mind link with Alliance and Blocker, making it very more scary. So your opponent has a Digimon gain in memory, and this thing comes out for free in security. Analog Youth just helps speed up the mill process that you need to have. But guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let me know down in the comment what deck you're going to be building in this format, and hopefully guys enjoy it. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Peace!